everybody. Welcome to episode number 175 of the Debt Free Dad podcast. So, do you find yourself stressed about money, but you still continue to keep spending? Maybe you even tell yourself, or you say things like, what's the difference? I'm already in debt. What's a little bit more going to hurt? Or maybe you just want to feel a little bit better about your situation, so you go spend more money. Today, we're going to dive into this common financial dilemma that comes up in a lot of my coaching calls, and we're going to explore the underlying reasons behind this behavior and challenge the attitudes that keep a lot of us stuck. Join us as we examine the impact of emotional spending and the potential for positive change. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Debt Free Dad podcast with Brad Nelson. Brad and his co-hosts experience the anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck before learning the fundamentals of financial security. They are now on a mission to empower regular people to pay off their debt for good and enjoy happier, less stressful lives. Keep listening for inspirational interviews, tips, tricks, and practical advice to gain financial freedom.
Hey, how is everyone doing today? You can find us on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Just search Brad Nelson, Debt Free Dad. And welcome to today's show. And it's always been fun on TikTok. Our TikTok group is growing rapidly, especially over this past month, which is exciting. I'm getting a lot of great comments and great questions. So if you'd like to interact with us, head on over there. Remember to get all the resources, show notes, and links for today's show. You can head over to balancesense.com/175. That's BALANCEDCom/175. So guys, I want to talk about this because it kind of comes up a lot in the coaching calls that I do, is this whole idea of, man, and I can kind of resonate with this because this was me, but this whole idea of, man, I'm already broke as it is. I'm miserable. I'm not feeling good. You look at your financial life or something bad happens and it's like, it's just one stress to the next. You don't really see any way out of your situation. You're not really making progress in getting out of debt. You can't really save any money. And so what do? We go spend money to make ourselves feel better, right? Or worse, we put ourselves further into debt to buy things to temporarily make us feel better. And, obviously I picture kind of just the standard hamster in the hamster wheel, right? And this is what I kind of picture when I see stuff or I hear stuff like this. And I just had a coaching call last week where this individual said it exactly like this, is that we were already in a tough spot. What's the difference if we made it a little bit worse or we didn't really make any progress? We just wanted to feel better in that moment. And they even said, I know that we are self-sabotaging our financial life. It's like people know it. Like we know that this is keeping us stuck, but we do it anyways. So I know for a fact this was definitely me a while back ago where, I didn't want to take it seriously. I certainly didn't want to make the sacrifices to get out of debt. I knew I had the potential of making better progress, but the thought of feeling good in the moment was more important during that time. And it took, some major things to kind of happen in my life to kind of snap me out of that mentality and really kind of sit up straight and get serious. One of those is, I had my son Noah, and it's like, man, I'm broke and I've got this kid now, and here I am going to try to be an example to him, but I think a lot of us get stuck in this. What is your guys' viewpoint on this whole mentality? Is this something that kind of kept you guys stuck for a while too?
I would wander the aisles of Target for fun. That is a bad choice.
So, okay, talk about it. You would wander what kinds of things were you buying at Target or let's just talk about that.
Snacks, food, pretty nail polish, whatever, cards that I was going to be like, oh, I'm going to send thank you cards or thinking about you cards or whatever. I always have like grandiose ideas, and that doesn't happen. And office supplies, I love office supplies. So if there was any kind of cute little desk organizer, whatever, anything. So, and the dollar bins, those little, which are now up to $5 in certain $1, $3, and $5 at Target. It's just spells disaster as soon as you walk in the door.
Yeah. So what would you say, knowing where you're at now and how far you've come, would you say that was to help make you feel better, or was it a lack of a plan or just direction, or like
all of the things? Yeah, it was. I mean, for one thing, it was less than a mile away from my house, and I didn't meal plan. I didn't do any of that. So I would just be like, well, what am I going to make for dinner tonight? And I would just wander around until something looked good. And it was just all kinds of mess. And now I rarely go to Target. If I go there, it's because I need something specific that I know I can really only get there. Or if I need a gift for someone, I will go there, and I'm really good. I don't take a cart. I don't even take a basket anymore. I will just run in for that one thing, blinders on, and walk out again, because it was to the point, and this is a legitimate, I have it somewhere still. I used my red card so often that when I joined Roots and was like, okay, we need to not do the buy everything you want. Think about, is it a need or a want? Target sent me a letter like, are you okay? Did you lose your card? Like, we haven't seen you in a while. Like, Target was worried about
They're
me.
good.
And they did send me another card just in case. And yeah, so they don't write anymore. They don't miss me. So
Katie is proof that you can improve your Target addiction.
yes, because how do you waste $10,000 in a year? $27.10 a day.
That's right. Yep, you got it.
One thing she hasn't bought at Target, though, is a blue shirt.
So if you're watching on YouTube, Chris, myself, and Ryan, we're all wearing blue shirts. And Ryan and I
did not get the message.
Yeah.
So.
Ryan and I are pretty confident that we both got our shirts at Target. Mine was a $6 t-shirt, which, by the way, are awesome. I need to go get some more of those. $6.
But is it a need, Brad? Do you need?
Oh, I don't need any more. No, definitely don't need any more.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it was totally, going back to my days. I mean, we were in rough shape financially, just from how much debt we had. So for us, we had, I think at the time, I don't know, it was probably $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in credit card debt. And it was like, what's $50,500 in credit card debt? I mean, I've got 50, like this is only $500, but you keep doing that, $500, $500, and then pretty soon it's $60,000 in credit card debt. But I think that was just our mentality, and was 100% emotional. I'm still an emotional spender. I mean, this, I kind of said in my last podcast where, I recently lost my job, and there's parts of me, and my wife and I, we go for our walks every day, and there's parts of me I've got like, we should go on vacation, and she's like, you're an idiot. Like, what? Like, do you want to fight on this walk? But it's just like, it is emotional. Like, I am an emotional spender. I mean, it is parts of it where, you're upset. It's just like, if I do this, it'll make me feel better, which it will for a short term. But yeah, I mean, I could totally resonate with emotional spending and doing that. I did it all the time because I felt like I was already in so much debt. What's the little more going to hurt? I mean, it didn't matter.
Yeah. But how crappy you feel after that, though.
Oh,
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that. And I'm dealing with that a lot right now, too. I mean, going through the situation that I'm at in my life is, emotional spending. And although that's really, I mean, it's been 3 months now. And I mean, I feel like that's really subsided now. I don't feel nearly as much of that going on as I did at first. But I did buy a Jeep. And that's why you need to get life insurance, so you can have some fun. but for real, I mean, I sat on that thing for a month, before I did anything, and practicing my own teaching of 30 days, I reached out to people. It's like, what do you think about this? And everybody was like, get it. I mean, it was the worst. I got the worst people in my life. You're supposed to say no.
Right? You're listening to broke people, Brad.
You need a financial coach.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we kept getting the weekly Jeep call. Okay. It's like, all right, you keep calling me about it.
He didn't call
Never
me
go to
because he knew what the
Ryan
answer would be.
Yeah, never go to Ryan about buying a car. He will always say
I would text him. I'd be like, that Jeep's still there.
That peer pressure is real though. Like, and not so much like peer pressure, but just like we talked about this a couple podcasts ago, the FOMO, right? And we spent money all the time on just, well, we got to go out. Everybody else is going out. We just got to go. And then we were just like, we don't have the money. Oh, well, let's just charge it. We would just put it on a credit card. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
We crapped our credit cards on max. And you know what I told myself? At least I'm more secure. Nobody's going to want me. What kind of mindset is that?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, it's like you seek that instant gratification because it's like,
right?
It's that rush, you feel better. It feels good in the moment. You're at a concert. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about people going to Taylor Swift right now. How much?
I don't know what those tickets cost. What are they charging?
Oh my gosh. It
has to be crazy.
It is I mean, I've heard anywhere from on the low end, a couple of $1,000s and up, like ridiculous amounts of money.
And it's not just that, like they're going there. Then they got like the swag they want to buy.
Yeah.
The drinks, the parking. Like
there are people.
It's not just the tickets.
Everyone's wearing a sparkly shirt.
Yeah.
And
it's
adult diapers. That was also a thing.
I was just going to bring that up. Diapers.
So they can stand through the whole concert and not miss a single second. They were wearing adult diapers.
I mean, guys, let's say it's not a bad idea. If I spent like $5,000 to see Taylor Swift, I'm wearing an adult diaper too. There ain't no way I'm going to the bathroom.
I don't want that.
I don't know what to say.
This just went sideways.
This has gone way off the rails at this point. I'm going to bring this back to topic real quick. If you're broke and still spending money, if you're broke and still spending money, you need a Chris in your life, not a Ryan that tells you to go do it.
Hey, if you have the cash, you can do things.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, if you got the cash, go do things. But most people just don't have that, and that's the challenge. And I think you have to eventually get yourself out of this idea that these purchases or that these impulsive or emotional purchases are going to fix anything, because they're just ultimately making your situation just that much worse. And that's why I say, I mean, I think a lot of us seek that instant gratification because when things are bad or things are going so good, it's like grocery shopping. You go to the grocery store and you get home, you put it all away, and you're like, oh, I'm so tired. Let's go out to eat. It's that instant gratification. It's that I need to feel good right now about all that work I just did. And when your financial life is a disaster, I mean, especially if you're working in a job you don't like, I mean, it is just a recipe for just constant emotional spending.
I once sold a particular direct sales company. I won't mention the name, but they drive pink Cadillacs. And in a recession, we learned that everyone would buy a lipstick because it just makes them feel better. Like they can look a little better, feel a little better. And it's only, $12 or $15 or $20 or whatever. And so that kind of little, like, make yourself feel better purchases would always go up.
Yeah.
In bad times.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, if you hit on like things like advertising and marketing, what do you hear when you hear, oh, it's treat yourself. Mm-hmm. You only live once. Those are the messages that we hear out there. And then you bring in things like, peer pressure and social influence and all the other people doing it. Like I said, it is just if you do not have your emotional spending or your emotions under control as it relates to your spending, it is just a recipe for disaster. It really, really is. There's just too much out there that can get you to spend money.
Well, I think we love to be around people that, I think just as human beings, we get around people that are all doing the same thing. So that justifies what we're doing. The stats are close to 80% are living paycheck to paycheck. So you are well in the majority of what most people are doing. And there's a lot of comfort there. There's a lot of like justification that happens on a daily basis. Like John next door is doing it. Jim next door is doing it. In fact, my 7 of my neighbors right in a row are all doing the exact same thing I'm doing. So I can't be wrong in doing what I'm doing. And so you just keep justifying the poor financial choices you're making. I did that all the time. I mean, I would look around and point fingers and, we're doing better than them. We have a nicer house. We have this, and justify all the reasons why we were doing the right things.
Yeah. It is tough to break away from the herd mentality.
Yes, it is.
But I think... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I actually had this conversation with my mom and dad this weekend while we were in the car together for 7 hours each way. But they follow Brad's podcast.
I just got to say, it's a good thing you get along with your mom and dad.
I didn't have to drive much, so I was fine. I was just relaxing. But we got into talking because they know I'm on this debt-free journey, and a lot of the bad habits that I learned growing up were from them, and they were just like, we're so sorry, we just didn't know better, we just weren't educated, we didn't balance our checkbook. We always kind of joke, they put their honeymoon to like South Dakota on a credit card when they first got married, and just kept charging for like forever. So they didn't have a good example. We were talking about in our little teeny tiny town where my whole family is from, my grandma didn't pay for gas or groceries because there was always, just put it on my tab. She had an account at each of the little places in town. And as kids, we were like, oh, that's so cool, she doesn't have to pay for anything. So just that mentality of, it's not real money. Like, you just take what you want, you get whatever you want, and then you don't have to pay for it. So we just didn't know better. Like, we just weren't educated on it. So we fall for all the marketing and debt and everything.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. I mean, obviously, Chris, you have been teaching kids, and not anymore, obviously, but you have taught kids for a long time. But how does a lack of, financial literacy or just knowledge kind of play into this, do you think?
Well, it's extremely important. I mean, I think, first of all, if I got my parents in the car together, it'd be a miracle. Right? More or less 7 hours together. And fortunately, they don't listen to this podcast. They don't even think they know I do it. So, but my story would be the exact same, Katie, as yours. I mean, my parents didn't know how to manage money. In fact, they always just thought about money. That's all they ever did. But regardless of that, when I became an adult, I mean, you do the same things your parents did. That's the major influence in your life. And it took me, a while to realize, wait a minute, all those phone calls that we used to get where debt collectors were calling? If I don't, turn things around, that's going to be me. So from a personal perspective, I mean, I could certainly relate to that I think very few people have parents that know how to manage their money and do it the right way, and then therefore teach it to their kids. There's probably a lot of people out there who know how to manage money and don't teach their kids. All right. There's probably a lot of people out there who don't know how to manage their money and think they're teaching their kids the right thing. So I think a lack of education, or I should say proper education, and I know y'all have talked about this a lot on this podcast over the years. What is the right thing to teach? What should we be teaching? If we could ever get to a point in this country where a lot of what you're teaching, Brad, were taught to kids, I think it would make an impact. But you're still going to have some who live for the moment. Sure. Who still want to, this is the big thing I notice with kids, it's students, I should say, is, well, I shouldn't have to worry about that right now. I've got a long time. Or, retirement, that's 40, 50 years down the road. I don't have to think about that right now. So there's always going to be challenges. But if adults talk to their kids about the challenges that they face at home, that would go a long way. And we've all had challenges, some more than others, but being open and honest and upfront with your kids and teaching them, well, this is the struggles that we have and here's why, at least sort of opens that door to them to consider a different way.
Yeah. So when it comes to, breaking this whole mentality of, I'm going to spend just to make myself feel better. What's worked for you guys to kind of break that, do you think? What's been the most helpful thing that you've done over the years that's stopped you? I mean, Katie, you talked about Target. What's changed for you? You think that's no longer important for you?
WWBD. What would Brad do? The waiting 24 hours before buying anything that was like an impulse buy normally was huge, and really figuring out what's a want and what's a need. And yes, there are definitely things that I want that I still buy for myself, but I don't do it all the time, every time I go out shopping or every time I go to the store. And like today, I had 25 minutes to go grocery shopping before we jumped on to record. And I knew I could go to Aldi, which was 10 minutes away. I was in and out within 9 minutes. I only spent $13.43, and I have everything I need for the rest of the week for meal planning. So I'm like, see, I'm just a grocery shopping ninja now. I don't just go wander the aisles anymore. And Aldi is smaller, so they only have the essentials, and then you have to avoid the aisle of shame. So
Aldi finds. You want to know, at one time, Aldi, they sold chainsaws.
Oh, they sell all kind of, like, you can buy patio sets, you can buy laptop computers sometimes. Like, there's always it's the random aisle of crap is what I call it. And I love Aldi. I'm not bashing them by any means. They have amazing gluten-free things that are cheap and actually taste good. Yeah. But
I love Aldi too. I like the Aldi find. I don't buy anything from there. But when I saw the freaking chainsaws, I was like, this is the best grocery store ever. I mean, what grocery store can you go to and buy a chainsaw and cheese?
Lots of good cheese, too.
Lots of good cheese.
I had to go today because I was out of cheese. So it was getting desperate. But I always fall for the things for my niece and nephew. So
yeah.
I feel like our values changed.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. We just don't value the stuff we did before. And that just made all the difference. It took a minute to get there. But once we got here, we're like, nah, I don't it doesn't matter to me anymore.
Yeah.
That thing I don't really need that. I don't want that. It's not that I don't need it. I don't even want it because our values changed.
Yeah. And I think that mindset change doesn't take as long as people might think it does. If you commit to 90 days, like for instance, we're going to, talk about some of the resources. Like for instance, if you joined our Life Without Payments free workshop, or if you listen to this podcast for 90 days, or if you took it to the next level, maybe purchased our planner or joined Roots, if you gave it 90 days of I am going to do things different, we're going to commit to this, I guarantee you in those 90 days, your financial mindset will change because you're going to get wins. You're going to actually have money in a savings account, and you're actually going to make progress in paying out debt. You're going to be like, holy crap, why didn't we do this sooner? That's all it takes. 90 days, it is amazing to me what the mindset shift that we see.
100% agree. That's how I was when I started. I was like, wow, this is just a whole mind shift. Completely different way of thinking.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, mine was more of a personal, I've said this on other podcasts, but it was more of a personal get in touch with yourself kind of just really, it really was. I think for me, it was identifying all the stuff we had. We had a nice house, we had nice cars. Before we moved away, we had a nice house, nice cars, all the stuff. And it was really between me and my wife sitting down and what does this represent? What does this stuff say about us? What is this stuff we wanted? And what we came to realize, what I really came to realize was everything I had was for other people's opinions. I shouldn't say a majority. I would say a large majority of everything I bought, everything I had, cars, houses, vacations, where we stayed on vacation, all of that stuff. It was in the back of my mind, it was so I could show other people that I was successful, which led to a childhood of being in school. I hated school, was always told just go do menial work because that's what you're going to probably do. And, and so it was a way to prove to people that I'm going to be successful. So I bought stuff to show that I could be successful. And so for me, I not saying everybody has to do that, but when I figured that out, it was just total mind shift. I've said on the podcast, we downsized our house. It was a no-brainer for me because now the house represented something I hated because it was the house didn't represent something we wanted or our dreams and hopes. It was like other people's opinions of ourselves. So it was like, yeah, we're selling this. And then it was like, we're getting rid of the cars. It was like easy to start purging things and really get on track once we just had our head on straight.
That's why I think for a lot of people, the reward, yes, is you reaching your financial goals, whatever that is. Maybe it's credit card debt free, maybe it's completely debt free, but it's the journey that ultimately is the biggest reward. It's all of the mindset change, the behavior changes, the peace of mind that you now have. And very much like you said, Amber, I think I would say the same thing. My values changed. You look around at all the stuff that you have and that you've accumulated over the years and all this debt that goes along with it. And it's like, why? Why are we doing this to ourselves? And it's just, you finally just realize, like, my peace of mind, my freedom of choice, freedom of time, how I spend it is way more important than anything that I could buy. And it took some time to get there, and I think it's not something that happens overnight, but I think it starts with taking that first step. And when you do that, I think you'll be very surprised about how quick that mindset can change for you.
I just moved and I was like, why do I have so much? And I have decided the next time I move, I'm just selling or burning everything and I'll just start over and I won't need as much. I just don't want to move anymore.
I am going to write this episode down because we are having a bonfire. How much fun would that be? So the Totally Awesome Debt Freedom Planner is helping so many people make consistent progress with their finances. Whether that be building emergency funds, paying down bills, budgeting, tracking paydays, saving up for larger purchases, goal planning, and planning for those irregular yearly expenses that always seem to catch you by surprise. Now, the Debt Freedom Planner will help you take the stress out of managing your money. And if the thought is running through your mind, hey, I just need to have a simple tool to get my finances together, this planner is perfect for you. Head over to therealdebtfreedad.com, click on the Debt Freedom Planner in the menu at the top of the page, and order your Debt Freedom Planner today.
Let's talk about that, baby. Let's talk about your money. Let's talk about all the good things, all the bad things that may be. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
And that now means it's time for the celebrations of the show. First, we have Shanna Skinner. Well, still no overdraft on our end. My Amazon shopping and DoorDash habits have gone way down. Fun fact, I was going to order DoorDash and it was super expensive. And my thought went to, how will that affect future us on our journey? Definitely a mindset change.
So many great wins right there. That is such an awesome one. That is such a good one. And yes, DoorDash is, so we got a lot of gift cards when my wife passed away. And so I'm, obviously I'm just using credits, but man, is it expensive. I'm like, holy crap, I would never spend my money on this. It is unbelievably expensive. But Shanna, those are some fantastic wins. Good for you. Keep it up. Joy Kulig, got my taxes done. June and July budget is also done. My emergency fund is funded. And I started paying down the snowball. And Joy is just getting started with us in Roots. And look at her go. Joy, that is awesome. Congratulations.
So before I read mine, Brad, what's the number one thing people do when an unexpected expense happens? How do they fund it?
Oh, they typically use your credit card.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So Samantha Hubb says, I'm really happy that I haven't used my credit card. Her air conditioning broke down and she wasn't afraid to call the repair people for the first time ever. Why? Because she has a well-stocked emergency fund to use.
Yeah. What a great place to be. Talk about stress-free living right there. That is awesome. Way to go, Samantha.
And Danielle Troy got their first budget done and realized we do actually have money left over. Now they're moving on to figuring out where it goes. So you got this, Danielle.
Yeah. Awesome job, Danielle. Great win.
And Stephanie Jacobs, I have made it 8 days with no eating out.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good streak. That's hard. That's hard. Really hard to do. So congratulations.
What was your
coming from the guy who did it for a year, right?
425 days. Now, mind you, I had a lot of help in doing that, but also it was COVID year, which made it a little bit easier. But that's still a lot. But 8 days that's still really good. That's a great win. I mean, if you think about it, food is everywhere. I mean, it is like so easy to spend money on food. It is everywhere, just like debt. I compare like the whole debt and food industry very much the same. Like just overeating, like bad food. It is just everywhere. It's so easy to overspend on food. So 8 days, going strong, Stephanie. Good for you.
So yeah, Stephanie, the challenge now is make it 9, make it 10, and then see if you can break 425 or 426, whatever it was.
There was somebody in Roots, Amber, that didn't they break it?
I don't remember.
I thought there was somebody that broke it.
Maybe.
We'd have to go back and look. I thought somebody.
Well, that's Stephanie's challenge right there.
There it is. There it is. And I promise we'll never talk about wearing diapers to a Taylor Swift concert again.
Thank you.
Oh, good times. Hey, if you're just getting started with our podcast, or maybe you've been listening for some time and you're interested on how to get on started on the road to financial freedom, visit our website at balancedcents.com and sign up for our free Life Without Payments workshop, where I'm actually going to show you the first steps that have helped tens of thousands of people just like you and I kick financial stress and worry for good. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to the Debt Free Dad podcast. Connect with us on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Brad Nelson Debt Free Dad. If you found value in today's episode, please leave a rating and review. We so appreciate it. For resources, show notes, and links mentioned in today's show, visit balancedcents.com. That's balancedcents, CENTS.com. Catch you next week.